What's good, Fight Family? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about UFC 304, which wrapped up just last Saturday. Honestly, I was going to talk about it immediately after the fact. I was going to post a video the same night. And then it started to really hit me that Belal Muhammad is champion. And I don't think I can handle that. I think that shit really cooked me that night. The whole card just... It was honestly a really off card for me. I think it's probably the worst I've ever done on a pay-per-view in terms of predictions. I usually get the main event correct on a pay-per-view. I usually only lose like 3 or 4 fights, but I didn't do so hot on this pay-per-view in particular. Honestly, now that I've had time to sit with it and I see how bad people are hating on Leon online and how people can't even seem to give Belal as much credit, it's kind of flipped how I feel about this fight. I'm honestly kind of happy that Belal's champion now. Maybe he'll be the welterweight champion that we've all needed so desperately out of that division. It's been held up forever, even since Leon's become champion. And I thought Leon was going to clear out, the old guys, take out the Masvidals, the Colbys, the Usmans, the Belals. I thought he was going to, give us some fucking order in that division. But no, maybe it's going to be Belal. Maybe Belal's the guy, because even on his post-fight presser, he was already talking about taking on the Ian Garys, taking on the Jack Della Maddalenas, taking on the Shavkats, and I need that. But you know what? Let's just get right into talking about the fights. First fight that we're going to talk about, of course, is the main event. Belal Muhammad takes down Leon Edwards' winning streak at welterweight. Belal Muhammad now has the longest winning streak in the welterweight division. I think it's like 11 or something along those lines. They also have like oddly similar records. Like Leon's is 22-4, Belal's 24-3 now. Belal Muhammad looked amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I don't know, for one, how he just all of a sudden looks so vascular and he looks 2 times stronger than he did at one point in his UFC career. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not pointing no fingers. But that is sus as fuck. Just anybody that is in this combat sports world, anybody that's trained, anybody that fucking knows how a body works if you're not built like fucking Ngannou or Yoel Romero. Belal didn't used to look like that. Go look at his older fights. Like, I don't know if that's just necessarily strength and conditioning and like better nutrition and dieting and whatnot. Seems like something else is going on there, if you get what I'm saying. But regardless, his game plan was fucking impeccable. The pressure that he had, I thought it was gonna be easy to neutralize it. I thought Leon Edwards would land hard with kicks, leg kicks, body kicks, and that straight right hand. Anytime Belal would try to enter or apply that pressure, I thought Leon would pretty easily neutralize it. But it looked like from the first round on that pressure was too much. Belal got just an immediate takedown really easily, and that kind of set the pace and the tone for the whole rest of the night. I mean, in the third round, after like dominating the first and the second, in the third round, he gets his back taken for the whole round. And I thought, okay, maybe the momentum can change here. But then he just immediately gets Leon back down and takes the fourth round. So now he's already banked the first, second, and the fourth. And come the fifth round, it's kind of looking like the same. Leon did surprise me. In a lot of moments, he would find ways to reverse positions on Belal and end up in the fully dominant position, and it looked pretty clean. I was impressed that he could even do something like that to the likes of Belal Muhammad. But at the same time, he was getting manhandled. He got spiked on his head at one point, really bad. Yeah, it wasn't looking like a good night for Leon at all. He didn't look the same. He reminded me so much of how he looked the whole like third, fourth, and fifth round against Kamaru Usman. He just looked dejected. He looked like he had already quit in his own mind. And obviously we know that Leon Edwards doesn't quit on himself, but I kind of agree with what Belal said 2 months ago leading up to this fight. He said that Leon Edwards is a guy that can break, and Belal's a guy that's always looking to break you. And it just worked out perfectly like that. Leon still ended the fight winning the fifth round, by busting Belal up with crazy elbows. He could have, even if he really fucking was able to like keep his balance mounted, he maybe could have finished that fight, but he wasn't able to. Belal Muhammad is now our champion, and now we get to look forward to maybe Belal versus Shavkat. Although I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I think it should be Shavkat versus JDM. Shavkat and JDM, they fight. Whoever comes out of that one is the true #1 contender. Let's throw them at Belal, and let's throw the loser at Leon Edwards, because I want to see Leon against either of those two fighters. Or you could give Leon Ian Gary. That would be a solid headline to a fight night. Or you can fluff up a pay-per-view main card with that fight. It's a solid fight. It sells itself. Both these guys, I'm sure, are going to come back strong. And I mean, now we have to look forward to... We have to remember Belal's name, bro. We can't forget his name anymore. He's forced it upon us. Now let's talk about the co-main event. Tommy Aspinall taking on Curtis Blades. The way the fight started with Curtis actually pumping a jab in Tom's face and, kind of trying to take control of the octagon showed me that Curtis had full confidence in himself, for one. But for two, it made me get a little bit of hope that this fight might be a little bit better than what I was expecting. But no, Tom Aspinall, as I predicted, he comes out and in under a minute, in under half a round is what I told you to bet. He knocks out Curtis Blades immediately. He lands a jab that drops Curtis bad. Doesn't even follow up with the two. Just lands the jab, stiff in his face, puts him down, follows up with like 10-ish ground and pound shots. Curtis could tell he was literally getting put out, or like his equilibrium was getting rocked, because he would like build up to his base, get hit by a punch, flatten out, build up to his base, get hit, flatten out. It was just like clockwork. Really disappointing to see. I'm personally a big Curtis Blades fan. For some reason, not that many of you guys online are. I don't get it. He's so consistent. He's always been at the top. The only like stain on his whole career is he always fumbles these big moments. He always loses the big moment by finish for some reason. But other than that, he's been around for so long. He fills up so many cards. He's had really good performances over time. Like, I don't know. I just think he's a solid heavyweight. It really sucks that he just can't seem to break through. But when you have a guy like Tom Aspinall, dude, who's breaking through? Tom Aspinall smokes everybody in the heavyweight division. He could probably fight 5 heavyweights in one night. Honestly, I think he could. I think he might even just get out of that on top. You know, knocking out 5 fucking people. That's how good he is. True heavyweight champion. I want to see him versus John Jones. I'd like for them to not jip Tom, but I know that they're probably going to do it. I don't know. I would like to see that more than Stipe, though. Moving down the card, Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. This was one so fucking satisfying to me, because my Discord was talking the most shit about how Bobby Green was going to whoop up Paddy Pimblett, and how Paddy's looked horrible in his last fights, how Bobby looked so good against Jim Miller. Bro, people in my Discord were saying Bobby Green destroyed Jim Miller. That was not destruction, my friend. Bobby Green got wobbled. He got dropped at one point. It was an actual fight. He was piecing Jim Miller the fuck up. He was obviously winning the fight. But to say he destroyed him, no, what Paddy just did to Bobby is destruction. That was immediate. Bobby shoots a takedown after like a minute of feeling it out on the feet, and then immediately gets wrapped up in a fucking triangle that gets turned into an armbar, and then turned into a triangle armbar. And Bobby Green was already out in the triangle, and then gets his arm snapped by the armbar because the ref doesn't seem to recognize that Bobby's fucking dying. He's asleep. Bro, some of the stoppages on Bobby Green, it's like, do these commissions have a thing against Bobby Green or something? Because he was legally murdered against Jalen Turner, and damn near just had the same thing happen to him against Paddy, and then had his arm fucking snapped. Like, look, that's the way of the game, but man, didn't have to go down like that. Paddy had already clearly won the fucking fight, and he looked good. You know, I called that he would get a finish on Bobby Green. I was leaning towards a knockout, but I'm not surprised at all that he ends up choking him out. I mean, he just looked so big in there. And when I saw them at the weigh-ins, it made me even more confident in my pick in Paddy, because I didn't know. I thought they were like the same height. Paddy was kind of towering over him a little bit. He looked great. Now he's ranked in the top 15. He called out Renato Moicano. I think that's a great matchup. Like, in terms of personalities, that's a good personality clash. You can make that the headline of a fight night, and that's going to be a really big fight night. But I do think there's more favorable matchups for Paddy moving up the lightweight division. I think Renato would be kind of a difficult one, if I'm being honest with you. I would want to see Paddy against the likes of, I mean, not getting too ahead of ourselves, but if Arman Tsarukyan, or not Arman Tsarukyan, I'm sorry, if Mateusz Gamrot loses his fight against Dan Hooker, I think I want to see Paddy Pimblett versus Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, fucking Mateusz Gamrot. I could see him doing really well against Mateusz Gamrot. The people that I can't see him doing well against in this division are the likes of Arman, you know, Islam, even Dustin Poirier, I think you would have a hard time with. Certain matchups like that I think are going to be rough, but if you build them up correctly, you can really build his star in this division, and potentially, bro, Paddy Pimblett could be a top 5 fighter. Like, that's crazy. I don't think any of us really imagined that. I've always kind of counted him out of being in the top 10. I knew he could make top 15. I don't know about top 10. Let's find out. Then we had RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez. He took on Christian Leroy Duncan. I had picked Christian Leroy Duncan to get that fight done, and he does not. It was a good scrap while it lasted. Gregory Rodriguez used his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and his wrestling, and it was just too strong for Christian Leroy Duncan. I did also predict in my video that I didn't think Leroy was going to shy away from the grappling as much as everyone online was saying. I felt like he could have moments and even maybe potentially use his grappling to help him win, along with his like elusive footwork and striking. And he did that, actually. He was mixing in the grappling. It was kind of surprising how he would win certain positions, but overall Gregory was just way better there, and it showed. Good win for Gregory Rodriguez. Kind of disappointing that Christian Leroy Duncan has now got another loss in his career. I was kind of excited for him as a prospect, but, you know, I don't know. Hopefully he rebounds. We opened up the main card with Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Giga was the only, like, real, true underdog of the night that I thought would get it done. And I was feeling confident in the first round. But, dude, let's just be real. Arnold Allen circled away from the power kick of Giga so well. He circled away from that rear leg, and it took away everything that Giga had, like all of his weapons. And you could tell Giga was flustered by that the whole fight. It looked like he was just kind of being outpaced, outmatched. You know, they were like landing tit for tat, but Arnold would land a little bit better. And it looked like he was eating the shots better too. So impressive win for Arnold Allen. You know, I'm a big fan of him, so I'm not mad that I got this pick wrong. I didn't want to see Arnold Allen going from being in a 9-fight winning streak at featherweight to then being 0-3 in his last 3. I didn't want that. So this isn't, you know, the worst. Now we know that Giga will never be anything in this division, and I fully believe that now. Prelim headliner, we got Nathaniel Wood and Daniel Pineda. This was a really good fight, honestly. Like, at the time, I thought it was the best fight on the prelims. Nathaniel Wood almost knocked out Daniel Pineda like 4 different times. Ended up losing me a little bit of money. I did have him on a knockout prop. And he drops the 3rd round to Daniel Pineda by allowing him to just, you know, find stuff with the grappling. Daniel Pineda looked good. He always looks really big in there for featherweight. He looked like a chopped little featherweight. But Nathaniel Wood was just too fast, too strong, too technical. He needs to tighten up dropping a 3rd round like that, though, because he almost at points looked like he could be getting finished or, like, giving Daniel that opening, and he needs to never do that shit again if he wants to be something at featherweight. Or you need to actually, like, get back on a real diet and go back to bantamweight, buddy, because you are a fucking undersized 145er. Nothing too important really happened for the rest of the night. Molly McCann ends up losing. She gets her ass whooped, but she showed some heart. Callan Loughran gets outpaced by a smaller Jake Hadley, who still somehow misses weight at bantamweight. Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape. This is probably the only one I really need to talk about aside from anything else on the card. Manel Kape loses to Muhammad Mokaev by decision. Close fight, and it was only close because they didn't do anything. They just looked at each other. Very reminiscent of Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza 2. Mokaev at one point in the first round, after he does secure his first takedown, or was it, I'm sorry, it was the second round, because the first round was just on the feet. He was just like kind of throwing body kicks, feeling out range. Manel landed one good punch at the end of the first round. But the second round, Mokaev immediately gets a nice takedown on Kape and gives up his position because he's trying to like pull his pants down, like wedgie him or show his ass to the crowd. It was some weird fucking shit. It ultimately ended up getting him kicked from the UFC. I'm fully confident in that. So for those of you that don't know, Mokaev wins the fight. It's completely boring. They don't do anything with each other. And Manel Kape broke his fucking toe in like the first round. And Mokaev could not do anything to finish a wounded fighter who has one toe and can't explode or even really scramble. Like, you could tell Manel Kape wasn't scrambling the same way because he was thinking about that toe. But Muhammad Mokaev wins the fight, and immediately after, at the press conference, Dana White said that the PFL is going to be getting a new undefeated fighter, and good luck to him. Coldly cutting him out. I love this fucking decision from Dana White. This shit made me hype in who he is again as the president of this sport, as the boss. Because Muhammad Mokaev honestly did some bullshit leading up to this fight. You know, he's the reason that there was so much drama and why Manel Kape was trying to, like, take his head off at weigh-ins and every time they were around each other. Because for those of you that don't know, Muhammad Mokaev and Manel Kape are both Muslims. And Muhammad Mokaev met Manel Kape at, like, a fighter hotel or something, like, during a card that both of them had teammates on, I believe. And he asked Manel Kape to take a picture with him to squash the beef, you know, because it looks bad for the Muslim community if they're both, you know, hating each other so desperately. And after they take the picture, Muhammad Mokaev sucker punches Manel Kape, apparently drops him, and then Mokaev's team jumps Kape. So now I fucking completely understand why Kape has been the way he has been, and why even before the fight started, they had to have 5 people on Kape to keep him from going up to Mokaev because he wanted to fight him before they even announced them. I would too. I'm glad that Dana White got rid of this dude. Don't fucking stand for this bullshit, especially because Muhammad Mokaev is trying to, like, keep this image that he's this like nice fucking just perfect undefeated fighter that just comes out here and fights and wins and gets finishes sometimes. No, you're a punk, dude. Doing that shit is corny. It reminded me a lot of the Khabib situation with Artem Lobov. Just seems like corny fucking behavior. And it's crazy that the religion of peace has all of the people that are about that shit. It's wild. Hey, Controversial take maybe? I don't think so though. Muhammad Makayev, fuck out of here, boy. And Manel Cape, you're on thin ice, buddy. Don't think we forgot about those weight misses. Don't think we forgot about now 2 boring performances, because you debuted against Pantoja and could have won if you just did something in the first 2 rounds. Like, we have not forgot about this shit. So you need to get your ass back out here and get a knockout, buddy. Other than that, the most impressive thing on the card after that on the prelims, Mick Parkin gets a knockout. First KO in his career. Good job. Sam Patterson, first round submission. I mean, we all expected that. Modestas Bukauskas wins by a submission. First time in his career. Wild. And Oban Elliott impresses the whole MMA world with takedown defense. First guy to win a fight by having beautiful takedown defense, and that's pretty much it. Overall, decent card. I'm not going to say it was bad. I'm not going to say it was great. I think if the main event didn't end how it did, maybe this card would have even been worse. I think Bilal winning is the big story of this month now. It's kind of crazy that in the last calendar year, Sean O'Malley, Sean Strickland, Bilal Muhammad, Dricus, so many people you wouldn't expect to be champion are now champion. But yeah, I've been yapping for long enough. That's going to be all for me today, boys. I'll catch y'all.